So this is a pretty special one when it comes to Fallout 4 modding, in that we're looking at a nice cross-section of different mod releases to recently come out. Taking a look at some new quest mods that add in some very familiar faces and actually have a nice big impact on the game, a new feature brought to Fallout 4 that could act as pretty fundamental across an entire playthrough and is quite revolutionary as far as modding goes, and then lastly, a ton of weapon and other miscellaneous mods to recently come out, including one very large-scale weapon mod that you'll probably download and probably keep for a very long time. Either way, hopefully this video serves to keep you up to date with the most recent Fallout 4 mods to release. If you enjoy the content or just want to keep up to date with things going forward, you can leave a like or subscribe. It's also the best way to help this video with the YouTube algorithm. I am planning another big Fallout 4 mod video this week, as there's a bunch of other mods in a different category that I think deserves its own separate video. Either way, let's first take a look at one of the biggest mods to come out for Fallout 4 as of late, that with Fallout Brotherhood, a Storyteller quest mod. So I'm sure many of you guys are familiar with the Storyteller series, this being a YouTube series hosted by this fictional character of the Storyteller that chronicled the lore of Fallout. And what this most recent release is doing is actually taking advantage of that concept but implementing it in a really cool way. If you played Fallout 4, you probably know about the memory den as you access Kellogg's memories. And using that concept and that implementation in Fallout 4, this mod will actually allow you to access Roger Maxon's memories, and really in turn discover the start of the Brotherhood of Steel, how it was founded, what events led to that finding, and you kind of act as an observer there, being able to take this all in, a bit of Fallout history. Really, it's kind of similar to watching a Storyteller video, but you're in-game. The Storyteller actually already was kind of a companion mod for Fallout 4 as a part of this custom armor mod that you could find him wearing, but now he'll make a return in an even a larger way as you kick off this quest, and he'll also butt in from time to time to add additional details during this kind of flashback or really memory of Roger Maxon. Overall with this one, it's a very cool and very unique mod. One of the critical parts of a mod like this, where it is very dialogue focused and not even so much you talking to people, but you listening to people talk, is of course voice acting. Unfortunately, I can report it is something this mod gets very right, as the person voice acting Roger Maxon, the person you hear from the most, is literally Commander Shepard from the Mass Effect series, or rather the same person to voice act that character, Mark Muir. And you don't have to just take my word for it, you can actually listen to it for yourself.
Karam, Sergeant. These prisoners are under our protection. Besides, Alan, you might have gone AWOL too without that tin can to protect you.
Oh, what, this old thing? My Uncle Sam gave it to me. You hear that, comrade? Made in America.
Keep bringing new prisoners onto the base, but the commissary says we aren't using any more food than we did a month ago. By my count, we should have been feeding 100 more mouths for the last month.
And even beyond that, all of the other characters, whether it be Brotherhood soldiers, scientists working for the government, or even some other interesting encounters, are all incredibly well voiced.
A home to come back to. If we refuse...
It's as if we killed them ourselves.
Captain.
I'm sorry, Dr. Shellman.
Me too.
It's definitely an experience on the shorter side, and it's not, again, super involved. It's not like you're engaging in dialogue with these characters, but more kind of watching them do their thing. But it's really well made and really interesting. If you didn't know about this part of Fallout lore, this is probably the most interactive and cool way to actually learn about it. And it's extremely well done. Everything here is 100% accurate, but you're actually getting to see it acted out in front of you, as well as the occasional background knowledge provided by the Storyteller or even holotapes. And as we do approach a release date on that Fallout 76 Brotherhood of Steel DLC, this is almost more relevant than ever, as some of these characters will be kind of interacting with in that DLC, or we'll be hearing about Roger Maxon's Brotherhood in that DLC. And now you can find out what actually led to the creation of Roger Maxon's Brotherhood. And then also just the usage of the memory den. I think that's awesome. I think a lot of us have wanted a mod or even really an official DLC to do something with that. There's so many ways they could actually take advantage of it. And I hope this somewhat inspires modders or even this mod team to do more with it in the future. Definitely could be a pretty cool one. But then alternatively, if you do want something a bit more hands-on, we just saw the release of what will end up being one of the best weapon mods ever released for Fallout 4, that being the Mark 18 CQBR. Really at its core, what this is adding in is one of the most customizable weapon mods that is in kind of the M4 AR style platform that we've ever seen thus far. There are other mods doing similar things, but this mod probably either has more or it just does it better. I would argue this is probably the last AR mod you'll ever have to download. As far as that implementation goes, as you're seeing in the background, there are a myriad of customization options. Whether you want something compact and short like an SMG, or even the complete opposite end of the spectrum with something longer range in a DMR. This really provides you with just about anything you want, with many choices in between. And then of course, to go along with that, there are different customization options for all of the rails, a myriad of scopes you can choose from. And although I feel like this is just more easily showcased than really described, one of the other cool things with this is, depending on which type of magazine you are using, you will have different reload animations, and with some of these you could actually choose to use an alternate style of animations, but overall it's just a nice touch. Some of them are more similar, but some of them definitely are quite different, and it is refreshing, especially as it allows you to use this across an entire playthrough and still have newer, interesting things pop up. Which, speaking of, there's a more custom version you can create of this one, and overall I think it just comes together to be more or less perfect. There's nothing this mod doesn't do that I wish it did. You could choose its implementation, whether you want it integrated into the leveled list or just for you to have one placed on you. The balancing is top tier. It does require certain perks as you get higher and higher in the customization options, and even further, the damage it deals is not ridiculous. It's in line with a lot of other Fallout 4 vanilla weapons, so it'll fit into the game, which some mods really miss here. And then of course, all the different things you can do with it, and it all just kind of works. It sounds good, looks good, and there's no major clipping or otherwise issues. So yes, this will probably end up being one of the last AR mods you really have to download, and it definitely is a top tier one. But now that you're equipped to take on the wasteland in Fallout 4, the Flyable personal Vertibird may help you get around a bit better. This is a pretty cool mod, and of course, as you could probably imagine by the title and what you're seeing in the background, a very custom mod, very different from anything else out there. So effectively what this will do is make it so you now have a craftable via settlement mode Vertibird that you can place down, and this will be your new personal Vertibird. The trick being, this is actually flyable and controllable by you if you want it to be. It can function just as a personal Vertibird. You have a pilot that spawns with this. He'll take you from A to B, or even fly this around for you, or alternatively, you could take over manual control and just fly wherever you want. Choose where you want to land, choose to hover, go forward, left, right, back. So now if you're hoping for something like helicopter gameplay in a Battlefield game, it's not quite that. The Vertibird controls in Fallout 4 and just the way the thing moves overall wasn't meant to be controlled by a player, and you could definitely feel some jankiness around this, but it does work. Like when you tell it to go forward, it'll go forward. When you tell it to go left to right, it will go left to right, or you could even just tell it to rotate. And really, it's one of those things that it kind of just works. I can see myself using this on a new survival playthrough where I don't want to use fast travel, but I want to get around a bit quicker. One of the cool aspects of this is it actually does have a survival or more realistic version to attain it. You have the cheaty version, which is just scrap, or there is a version where you have to get a certain amount of Vertibird parts, and there are several ways to do that, including shooting down other Vertibirds, which naturally could be kind of hard. It's not like you see them all the time in Fallout 4. And even outside of just being a fast travel alternative, there are a few other options. You could store junk items in this, and then actually have the Vertibird fly back to your home base, drop off the junk items, then return to you. You could have the Vertibird just fly around you, patrolling next to you, but following you along the way. And again, you could totally control where this lands, so you could have some pretty cool moments where it drops you off somewhere, you jump out, get into combat, then fly away after that. And the guns on this do still work while you're flying it. It's a really cool one. I know the mod author is working on some updates. He's been actively posting updates since the September release, and it looks like a lot more features are coming. So in all likelihood, this is not the final time I'm talking about this mod, but it's definitely a fun one to try out. It's very unique, very different for Fallout 4, and I imagine with time and additional refinement, it's only going to get better and more usable. But then we do have something a little bit simpler, that with the FG42. So with this weapon mod, really there isn't a ton to say about it. As in the FG42, you've probably used in Call of Duty or Battlefield into Fallout 4, and it does so in an apt way. There's a few customization options, not highly customizable, but enough, a few things you could tweak about. It features animations fitting for this, as well as sounds that do feel appropriate, but even further, it's nicely added in that there's one of these to spawn in the world, and you have to go get it by opening a container. So it feels like something rare and special. It's not just going to spawn everywhere on enemies, which I feel like is fitting for this particular weapon. And the reason I liked it and wanted to highlight it is it's just really satisfying to use. It does have that interesting trade-off where in Fallout 4, it actually has a higher rate of fire but higher damage, but a relatively small mag size. And for that reason, it did feel appropriately balanced, especially if you're playing on higher difficulties. And again, it was just really satisfying. The animation, sounds, and just gameplay with this all came together to be a very fun experience, and if you're looking for something to break up the flow of modern weapons for Fallout 4, this is a solid choice. But if you're not looking for something to break up the flow of modern weapons, we also do have the FNX 45. This is another one that is relatively simple. It's going to add in a more more modern style pistol to Fallout 4, and one that will also feature several customization options. You'll actually have quite a few different scopes as well as barrel extensions to choose with this one, definitely more so than other pistol mods out there. There's also options for a wide variety of different materials you can apply on this one, so giving it quite a distinctively different look than it traditionally would have. And even further, you can customize which ammo type will be used, and there can be slightly different sounds for this. Some are using vanilla sounds, some being custom. But that is a nice touch. I like when things like that don't only have a stat change, but also an audio visual change to go along with it. And then from there, it's just really a solid pistol choice. Another one that is very satisfying to use. You can customize the damage on it a bit more in depth if you want it to deal less damage or more damage. And otherwise, if you're looking for another modern pistol to have in your game, this is a good choice. But then separately, stepping away from some of those weapons for a moment, we also do have natural grasses and ground covers. And I actually really like this mod, and I think a lot of people will really like this mod. As more or less what it's going to do is, as you're seeing in the background, add in more grass to Fallout 4. But I think this mod occupies this very interesting category or middle ground in that it's very vanilla-esque. It almost feels like it is representative of Fallout 4's grass and some of that ground covering. If Bethesda decided, hey, why don't we just make the foliage a bit longer? Many of the green mods out there right now either wipe out grass and foliage completely or add in a ton more, so it's at points very noticeable, where this one's a bit more subtle. It's just like the grass grew a little bit longer. From time to time, there definitely is a little bit more grass, but overall, it stays pretty true to form what we have in vanilla Fallout 4. And I would say if you're somebody who likes the vanilla foliage in Fallout 4, this is going to be a really good mod for you to download. It also does take into consideration the different biomes and tries to not stray too far away from their look and feel. So you'll notice, although the grass is longer, many times it'll look very similar to what was there previously. So again, a pretty cool one that I feel like occupies an interesting category in the green mod space, in that it's not overly green. But now they have all these different things to do or use in Fallout 4, how about something new to wear? As we also do have the Cross Explorer outfit. This being a port of an outfit from Call of Duty into Fallout 4 that I think fits into the world pretty good, and just in general is a pretty good looking outfit. It is female only, but the game it's from, it's also female only, so there's not really much you could do there, as well as does feature some customization options. You could have a more muted look without some of the extra equipment on you and some more black attire. Overall, it's a pretty simple one, but I think that is a good kind of base for Fallout 4. It's a good one you could stack some armor or sidearms or backpacks on top of. One final mod that may help hold you over until we finally get Cyberpunk 2077 for ourselves is the thermal katana. This was featured quite prominently in some of the recent Cyberpunk trailers, and more or less it's going to add the thermal katana into Fallout 4. This actually looks really cool. It has a nice glow effect on the blade overall, as well as it can be quite devastating, especially on melee characters. The design of the katana overall is something that could totally be in Fallout 4. It doesn't feel out of place here at all. I definitely feel like you could see an Institute Courser rushing at you with this thing out, and that actually would be pretty terrifying. So overall, another pretty satisfying one to use. I don't cover melee weapons all too often on the channel, but there still definitely are some solid releases. But with that said, hopefully you guys found this one informative. I'll have links to all the mods down below in the description if you want to download them for yourself. But until next time, I thank you all again for watching, and I hope to see you all later.